Hello, my name is Crystal Petry, and you are watching another episode of the Crystal Petry Podcast, Season 4. Today's conversation is about more than coffee. It's about faith, purpose, leadership, and building a business that impacts people beyond profit. We're sitting down with the founder of Generous Jiva to talk about what it really takes to grow a company, stay grounded in your calling, and how the Lord is using this business to serve others and open doors for ministry and connection. Welcome to the podcast, David Carolan. How are you?
Doing great, Crystal. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to our conversation here.
Me too. Me too. So, David, tell us, where in the world are you?
Well, I bounce back and forth between Houston, where we roast coffee, and Austin, where we serve and try to promote ministries there. So it's back and forth. Totally enjoy both cities. Very different, of course.
Yes, very different.
Yeah.
But you are in the great state of Texas. So
Yep.
we will take that. We
Yeah.
will take that. Now, David, what was the moment you realized that Generous Jiva was becoming more than about just coffee?
Yeah, I think it started like right after COVID. I wanted to try to do something that would be significant for the community in Austin to try to help rebuild things. And I noticed we had a significant homeless population. And I thought, what would it look like if we could get more people involved to help the homeless and actually help homeless people, find their family, so to speak, right? So a lot of homeless people really don't have family. And so there's ministries all over Austin, some very big and well-known, some smaller ones. And I thought, what might it look like if we delivered coffee to the homeless, like really great coffee, and try to have good conversations with them to help them with things like finding a job, finding a place to live, making sure that they're getting all the benefits that they may have earned. For instance, some homeless people have significant amount of government benefits, but no address to get their checks mailed or no bank account. Now, I don't do that kind of work, but there's lots of folks in Austin that do that work. And so I just wanted to bring coffee into the equation so that everyone could have a great cup of coffee each morning. And so we began serving coffee in South Austin, about 5,000 cups of coffee a month to the homeless. So that's how we got started back in
David,
2021, 22.
what made you think that coffee was the connection to the homeless?
Well, I really kind of think coffee, caffeine is way underrated. There's a lot of great things that happen in the brain. For all of us, but for homeless people, they do suffer. A lot of them suffer from depression, and coffee is such a good mental boost. Creates awareness, and if it's the right time and the right moment, you can actually get human to human good connection. And that's really important for people that are looking for help. They need to be able to relate to others, and those that are providing help. Coffee causes us to slow down for a moment. If you sit, if you sit with people to have a cup of coffee, have a coffee meeting, you're both very present and hopefully very awake.
Yes.
And you can have a good conversation, right? So that's why I introduced coffee into that setting. And then that's what caused me to transition to, I wonder if we could do this in all types of settings. What could we do to encourage generosity? What kind of conversations could we have about generosity over coffee? Kind of a strange combo, but hopefully I'm explaining myself, the purpose of it. So.
No, you're doing amazing, David. You're doing amazing. How long has Generous Jiva been in existence?
Yeah, so we're in starting our 5th year now, and it's been an interesting journey. There's many times where I just couldn't figure out how to so-called crack the nut to
Mm-hmm.
get people to buy the coffee and to understand that we're doing more than just selling great coffee, because there's a lot of good coffee companies out there that you can find good coffee almost everywhere. But we wanted to blend that in with the generosity message and blend that in with actually supporting local ministries in Austin that are helping uh, people like the homeless and foster care and things like that. We wanted to bring all three of those components together: good conversation, talk about generosity and teach about it, make contributions to local ministries that are helping the down and out. So
What
that
would
was
you?
hard. That was hard for me to
Mhm,
take those three things, right, and
mhm.
work through them over the years. And there was a lot of trial and error. So,
What would you say maybe was the biggest trial, the biggest error?
oh, there was a number of times where I just really wanted to give up. And the sense of that was, this is costing a lot more than I expected, taking a lot longer than
Mhm.
I expected, and I can't seem to find the right mix of ingredients to get like the business to flourish and take off. I had a lot of wonderful people that gave me lots of advice, but at the end of the day, I'm the one that's, for lack of a better term, out there on the tennis court playing singles by myself, you know, pushing things back and forth. Even though I have a couple of really great team members, it's all, for the most part, been my decision about how we would try things. And I made a lot of mistakes
Mhm.
and yet kept at it. Right. So the game's not over till it's over. So, and we did finally figure out the model. So, and it took several years actually to figure the model out. So,
For the business owners that are listening to you, maybe people who are thinking of starting a business right now, how did you push through the moment of, I can't figure out this recipe, this is costing way too much, it's taking too much from me? How did you push through that instead of just saying, you know what, I think I'm going to not pursue this anymore?
well, it's a great question. And that was the defining moment for me a couple of years ago, because one of my thoughts was, maybe I should just like sell this business to someone else, and who else could run this, or keep the business and go do some other things that I'm involved in and not work on this so hard. And so I would pray about it and be looking for someone else that could come do the what I call the hard work every day to work on it. So I asked the Lord a number of times. I'm so grateful to him that he would actually, give me these abrupt moments of revelation that I needed. So I kept asking him, I asked the Lord, who do you want to own this? And the Lord just so clearly said, I own it. Not
Yes.
me, but he owned it. And
Yes.
that just totally changed my perspective. Of course, I preach about this and talk about our life should be given to the Lord 100%. Everything comes from him, everything belongs to him. And at the same time, I was holding so tightly the business, that it was mine and I needed to decide what to do with it. And, the Lord just reminded, I laughed when he told me that it was his business. And I just laughed so hard that, I just got completely free, and I was free and joyful again and glad to go work on things, and realized that it was his and I was just a steward of it, which is
Mhm.
all the things we teach about generosity. And it was good for me to learn that lesson. Right. So that was the turning point for me. I haven't really ever been discouraged again in the last couple of years because of that word from God. So.
Would you say, David, within the 5 years that you've had Generous Java, Is that the biggest lesson that God has taught you, or is there another lesson that He has taught you throughout this
Yeah.
journey of opening and running Generous Jiva?
Yeah, so that's good because there's always two parts. There's the what I call the vertical, right,
Mm-hmm.
between you and God and things that He teaches us and things that He says to us. But there's also the horizontal, people that you work with, your customers, things like that, and they both matter significantly. I think the proper flow is, God first, understanding what He wants from you, what He desires from you, what He wants to show you, what He wants to give to you.
Mm-hmm.
But then the second thing is you have to go do something with it. So one of the revelations was the second big revelation for me is that God brings people into your life to work with peers, maybe employees, board members, right? They all become part of the journey that you're on. They might journey with you for a little while or for a long time, but I had to really change my perspective that this was not just about what I could accomplish with the company, but it was what was God trying to do in the lives of other people that He surrounded me with.
Mm-hmm.
And when I changed that perspective, you get more gracious and patient with people that you work with and their skills or lack of skills. Sometimes I would be maybe too patient.
Mm-hmm.
People would say I'd be too patient, but it's way better than being hard charger, hard driver only and not seeing the other people that God's put right in front of you to be with, to work on something together. And then what good could come out of it for that person or group of people that you're working with? What's the next thing that God has for them? So that expanded how I looked at life and the business, that it was way bigger than just selling coffee and getting people to be generous. But it was about the people that I worked with, right? So,
I will say, David, that the name of your company, Generous Jiva, en- encapsulates everything that you are doing with a cup of coffee. I feel like it's the perfect name for
yeah,
your
thank
company.
you. Yeah,
It's the perfect name, David.
it rolls off
So,
the tongue and onto the tongue. So that's
yes, yes. So clearly, David, you have made sacrifices within this business, even with the revelation of God telling you this is His company and not yours. What would you say is the biggest sacrifice you had to make to personally grow this company?
yeah. I think putting myself out on the line. I've done. I mean, people can find out more about me and my background, but I've done some really much larger companies and much larger things, much more complicated things. Uh, I would say that the two types of sacrifices that I've made is the stops and starts that I talked about become, ingrained in this. But the two things were financially, for the most part, paid for, by myself and family, and not really looking for outside investors for anything yet, though I think probably be a good idea soon. And then the second thing is the cost of putting myself out to the community in Austin and going to churches and businesses and asking people to get involved in what we do. And, we live in a day where it's hard to get people's attention,
Mhm.
and overthinking the value of the product or solution that you have, overestimating what it means to others was like a real costly thing for me. Like I really felt like we had the best thing since sliced bread, right? But the reality is it's just coffee,
Mhm.
right? And you can get coffee anywhere. And most people think about generosity, Christian generosity. You'll learn that in church, right? And most people make their giving as, through their local church. And so really just was offering a paradigm shift in how people could learn about generosity and other places that they might want to give. So I got some cold shoulders. I guess that's a short way of, saying it. I got some cold shoulders towards the idea, and it becomes really discouraging because you feel like your reputation is on the line. Like, is something I'm doing not right? If it wasn't that the Lord said it was His, I probably would have given up. So we've always found people that loved what we do, and just those little bits of encouragement caused us to flourish and prosper and keep at it. So to summarize, the two things are financially, it's been expensive, but be worth it. And then reputationally, it's been, for a short time, it felt like it was a bad decision to even be in the business. So my own reputation. And I would say to people that are starting their own company, you could probably expect those types of things no matter what you're undertaking, right? So, and I haven't really had any business partners, so to speak. So it's the third thing might be the loneliness factor, right? That it might cost you being not just misunderstood, but you're might be on your own to try to figure some things out. The business or whatever you're going to do should always be more important to you than anyone else. And if you find someone else that takes it as on themselves to make it as important as it is to you, that's a unique find, a very unique find, right? So the loneliness factor would be I guess maybe the third thing is that it will cost you some separation so that you can work diligently at things.
David, have you ever had to choose between faith and profitability within your company? And which one did you choose and why?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like that. I would probably kind of turn that on its head and say the faith that Jesus gives us, that kind of faith that He gives us by His grace, is sufficient for all profitability and all loss, right? So without that faith and without obedience and listening to the Lord and like doing the things that He asked you to do with the faith that He's given you, you won't be able to accept profitability or loss, right? You won't be able to accept it, right? So to be able to hold those things loosely enough and keep your hand open. I've never thought about profitability. I always thought about delivering what I've been asked to deliver. And it would be for my whole career, which spans almost 40 years now. My whole business career has always been, this could be a profitable business. This could succeed greatly. It could also be mediocre. It could also fail. I've had a lot more failures than successes. I've had some really big successes, but very few of them. A lot more failures and a lot more stuff in the middle, which is, I think, what the question you're asking. What do you do when there's faith involved and misgivings about profitability, right? Are you going to make it or not make it? And I would say if you're true to the vision that you have and the mission, the Lord will probably morph that outcome for you if you're willing to trust Him. He'll probably bring you new people and new ideas, but you're going to have to be obedient in the very small things. And that I would say would be the third thing I would add, not just the profitability and the faith, but would you be willing to be obedient? I have a real high proclivity to delay gratification. I'm very good at that thing, and I'm very good at networking. So networking is important. And then being able to delay gratification about the business so that you get it right and tight and it's available to the best degree. And you'll find profitability if you do those kind of things. So,
David, what would you say was your first major breakthrough moment that made you think and feel like this could really happen?
Yeah, I'm so grateful for a church in Austin, Good Shepherd Lutheran. I'm not a Lutheran, but they run a really big program called Follow the Star.
Mm-hmm.
And, your next guest that I'll tell you about, hopefully, was heavily involved in that with me to get our coffee in this big event called Follow the Star. About 10,000 people during the Christmas season come through and see the whole life of Jesus. It's live. It's like a nativity scene on
Mm-hmm.
steroids, right? So it takes about an hour to walk through it or drive through it. And every scene is the whole life of Jesus from birth all the way through the resurrection. It's really beautiful. And we were invited to serve coffee for free, set up a booth. The church just welcomed us in. And then they bought a lot of coffee from us. It's a pretty large church. And, they just are like such an advocate. So it was one of the first churches that really we felt totally embraced by them, and the mission was embraced, and we got to tell a lot of people about generosity and about the coffee. So to me, that was like a real highlight. I would encourage the listeners, you'll find some advocate like that, and it won't be potentially a person that'll come alongside you every day, but they'll just be looking for ways for your business to succeed, and just love on them because they're loving on you when they do that. So I'm grateful to Good Shepherd and the folks there that have really helped us turn the corner.
Did you start with a business plan for Generous Jiva, or did you just learn and fail and learn as you went?
Yeah, I know how to write business plans. I've written maybe 100. I've probably started 30 businesses over the years, and I've written a lot of big business plans, really thick ones, and presented it to investor groups and so forth. This one, I really didn't write a business plan. I did do streams of thought that converted it to text. So I highly recommend recording on your iPhone or whatever, like
That's
your
a great
thoughts,
idea.
and then just convert it to text. AI is so valuable now; it can take that information and convert it to strategy for you. So, but for this particular business, I did not do a business plan, even though I would always recommend one.
Mm-hmm.
And I always kept my eye on cost per transaction. I always kept my eye on that cost to acquire a customer. These are all kind of, you look at the industry that you're going to be in and say, what does it cost to get a customer, and what could you expect for profitability? And then how quickly and how much of it do I need to be profitable? And what do I need to pay for marketing, right? So all those things are critical. I would say, getting a coach or an advisor, a mentor to help you with that, even if it's informal. And I did get some of what I call the informal business plan support from others. Did some board of advisor work, but I didn't really produce a formal plan for this business. So,
What mistake would you say cost you the most at the beginning of the business, maybe the middle of the business?
yeah, we're not just a coffee roaster, but we're kind of a technology company. We have a bunch of things we do on the web. You can go to generousjava.org and you can see that website, but it's morphed over the years. And I would say the biggest mistake I made, and probably my team members would agree and laugh, is that I tried to take a lot of shortcuts in technology so that I could get exactly what I wanted as fast as I wanted it, without any thought to, is this platform sustainable, expandable? Do I really need everything right away? Right. So in the industry, they call it MVP, the minimum viable product. I didn't take
Okay.
the approach, and I would say probably important to do that is just find out what's the minimum thing that you need to test and try and succeed. I was always running way ahead, which is probably a character flaw of mine. And I use technology to try to run way ahead. And that I would say the biggest mistake. So we did a lot of tech redos, and it probably cost us an extra year and a half because of that. So
What keeps you going on the difficult days, on the days that you don't feel like getting up, the days that you don't feel like dealing with technology and coffee? What keeps you going?
I have a big advantage there. I live on a farm,
Mhm.
and the roosters wake me up in the morning. They start at 4:30, and I have a bunch of dogs, and the dogs want to be fed. And so whether I want to get up or not, I have to get up and go do that work. I have to let the chickens out, get eggs, and feed the dogs. And I'm reminded that, there's still fresh air, and make the coffee, of course, make my own coffee, and sit down with the Lord and say, I don't have it in me today. I believe I'm going to drink a couple of pots of coffee before I get going. But the Lord always has something to say to me. So I make it a point to have time with the Lord early on. And yeah, there are some days. I call them mental health days. Every once in a while, I'll take a mental health day where I
Mhm.
just say, I'm just not going to work today. Not going to work on this. I think that's perfectly fine. You know,
I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
This is something that is very important when you are running a business, whether it is, a brick and mortar business or online business, the customer. How does the customer feel when they're interacting with your company? So my question for you, how do you want your customers to feel when they interact with Generous Jiva?
yeah. So the number one rule we have is always be generous first.
Mhm.
Try to be the first one out of the gate. The model that we have on our website is, we really make it easy to buy great coffee for a really ridiculously low price.
Mhm.
And it's intentional so that the customer feels like they're really getting something valuable for actually underpriced, right? And to us, that's our form of generosity for the customer that we may never meet or talk to, right? And then I find myself many times, as you know, Crystal, just offering to people, could I send you some coffee for free?
Yes.
Right. So that model of generosity first um, is really important because you can talk about generosity, you can read stuff about generosity, which we have a course online you can take on generosity. We have a bunch of material online, books that you can get. But the Barna Group came out with a study on generosity, and there's a bunch of takeaways from it. But one of them that we really honed in on is that you could increase generosity in others by about 40% if you're just generous to them. Like
Mhm.
if you'll go do some generous something to them, it'll create in them some kind of spark that gets them to become generous. If you just tell them about it, about generosity, it's super good to do that. But if you actually do something generous, unexpected,
Yes.
it'll really turn the tables and get them going in the generosity direction. So that's why we give coffee at a great price to where it feels like you're getting something, really getting something. And then the other thing is if, please don't take advantage of me, listeners, but if you ask for coffee, I'll probably send you some,
Mhm.
right? Just as a favor, because we do want to be generous, right? So that's how we treat people. We don't treat people as customers. We treat them as future very generous people, right?
Mhm. And I love the fact that you already put that moniker on them, that they are generous, that they will be generous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
It's,
important.
yeah.
What should people know about entrepreneurship, David, that maybe they don't know?
Most people don't even want to be entrepreneurs. They really
Hmm.
want security, and entrepreneurship is not a secure thing at all. Uh, it has, I don't know if it's born in a person, if they learn it.
Hmm.
I feel like part of it in me is, inherited. God kind of gave it to me. But the other is I have a father that's very entrepreneurial and a mother that's very supportive, was very supportive of him over the years of being an entrepreneur. And so there's got to be some form of stability in your life if you want to be an entrepreneur. I don't know where that's going to come from for you,
Hmm.
but you also have to be a risk taker. And if you can't do that, if you don't have both of those components, if you don't have some sort of good stability and you're
Hmm.
not willing to take risk, then you're going to be in what I call no man's land, where every day you can't figure out which way you're going. It's like being double minded, right? You got
Right.
to, whatever you're called to be, you need to be that, and you need to make sure that you can keep being that. God's going to show you what that is. You probably need a lot of support system to help you with it. Again, great examples from my parents in that. I'm very thankful for it. And I think that what the example that I like to give, it's like playing singles tennis, not doubles, but singles. You know, you may have played some doubles, but when it's time to play the game, you got to get out there. You're going to get tired. You need to have some skills. There's stuff on the other side of the court. They're hitting stuff back to you. It's not one volley. It's going to go on, and you have to have some stamina and some skill, and you have to think about that. Just playing the game can be fun, but you're in it to win, right? You want to win. You can have fun, but you do have to have some ability to stick to it. So entrepreneurship is like singles tennis. That's what I say. So
If someone is listening, and I'm sure someone is listening to you right now, David, that wants to start a faith driven business, what would you recommend their first and second step be?
well, I would say evaluate, uh, be certain and evaluate, do you have the fortitude and do you have the demeanor, and is this the right time for you to be an entrepreneur? Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe you are to be one, but maybe it's not the right time. So get some convergence on that. If you have a great idea, you'll be surprised that someone else is probably already doing it, right? And you should be okay with that because maybe there's just a place for you to carve out your idea in a different way, in a different place in the world. But don't ever think that there's something new under the sun, right? Like Ecclesiastes and Proverbs says, there's really nothing new
Mhm.
under the sun. But you may find a new way to do it, and that is entrepreneurship. So evaluate yourself. Don't get too caught up in the ideas that you have, and then ask for advice early instead of late, right? Yeah, find a mentor. So,
What would you say, David, is your intention in this space of coffee and generosity?
yeah, I mean, my dream. I don't know if it's God's dream right now, but my dream would to be able to at least cover Texas, all the major cities with our program, expand into Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and find the same model that we have in Austin, working in those cities. So I'd love to have ambassadors in those different cities that could go and be with the Christian community, the church community, the business community, and find ministries in those cities that are like heralded, undervalued for what they do, and try to make the community aware and be generous to those ministries. So I'd like to create a template for what we do in Austin, in other cities, and try to help other people get started to do the same. And, of course, ship coffee there and all that as well. So.
Well, thank you so much, David, for being on my podcast. I have one more question for you, then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah.
Who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast? But you have to help me get them on.
I will get them on. I think they owe me some favors.
Yeah.
So that would be Mel Jones from Joy 512 radio station in Austin. Has a tremendous long career in radio and is very entrepreneurial and made some shifts to create what is called the worship station in Austin, Texas, that's committed to joy. And so I think Mel would be a wonderful person to have on, and he could explain all the things that he and his team have done to grow that station and kind of make it a center point of activation in the community, try to not only for worship for Christians, actually around the world, because it's an internet radio station, but also to help others in the community get activated to be, helping those in the community. So he's really good at this, community builder on top of the radio. Yeah, Mel Jones would be a perfect person.
Well, we cannot wait to learn from Mr. Mel Jones. Thank you so much, David, for being on this podcast and educating us about Generous Jiva and how God has worked through you through this company.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And to my community, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get David's podcast as well as all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.